Welcome back to another episode of NFT Catcher Podcast. We'd like to remind everybody that nothing on the show is meant as financial advice, and to please do your own research. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Ghost Coffee Podcast, where I, MUMBOT, will be speaking with guests who I find inspirational or who have some valuable experience and insights to share with other creators like myself. On our latest episode, we welcome the incredibly talented digital artist Terrell Jones as a guest. I had such a good time getting to know more about him, his history, his journey, and I'm excited about what the future holds for him. Terrell's work is highly sought after by some of the biggest collectors in the space. Recently, it was announced that Terrell will be collaborating on a very cool innovative project with Snoop Dogg and Transient Labs alongside the artists Coldy and Alien Theme. From relatable nostalgic themes and pop culture references to exploring darker, more complex themes, his work and the subject matter, mood, settings, color palettes, and clever concepts are all a part of defining and contributing to a historical digital art movement. Hope you will enjoy the show. Hi, what's up? Hi, Terrell.
Hey, how you doing?
Thank you for joining me. I've been super excited to have you on the Ghost Coffee podcast.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure to be here, and I've been super excited for this one.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for making it work. I know that times can be tricky, so
No worries.
you're really busy and we both have a lot going on. Yeah, so let's just get right into it. First, I have a whole list of questions for you, but I would love to hear you just kind of give a little bit of background of yourself and how you describe yourself as an artist.
Yeah. So I'm Terrell Jones. I'm a digital artist based out of Michigan. I've been doing art my whole life, pretty much, for as long as I can remember, at least. Early on, I was super inspired by my aunt. My aunt Linda, she's a super talented portrait artist, and she definitely was a person that always instilled that artistic side of me, and always was giving me sketchbooks or notebooks or pencils, markers, all that type of stuff, art books. Yeah, she was definitely the first person where I could look and be we're actually able to do this stuff with our hands. Someone can make those portraits that can look just like someone, and they could do that with a pencil. Yeah, she was definitely a huge inspiration. But I really come from an artistic family, really. I think that I'm the one that really is trying to use it as a career path or in that way. But, my brothers and sisters, we always used to draw as kids. We'd be sitting in church and drawing. We'd be sitting at home drawing. We'd be watching, Saturday morning cartoons. And then after they're over, we'd go draw our own characters and stuff. So, art has always been a part of my life. I think later on, I started to take it a lot more serious, through middle school or high school, when I started to get paid to do it in certain ways. I definitely wasn't getting paid a lot, but, certain friends would, ask for a tattoo design or a character design or whatever it was. And, $5 here or there, I was like, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I think late high school, I started to take it a lot more serious than that when we had, with my art class, we had this gala auction event, and pretty much we were all selected to make works for it, pretty much, and we went to the auction, and they would sell there, and they were displayed there and all that. So that definitely made me that's when I had started painting, and that was 2014, I think, my junior year. And that definitely gave me a whole different insight with just that different type of crowd. There were certain things with that event that I didn't necessarily like, especially looking back at it now. But, it was still cool to have that kind of exposure. At that same time, maybe a little bit before that, I was definitely into sneaker design. And that was something that I kind of saw as a path that I would be able to pursue after high school that still kind of included art, but wasn't necessarily doing album covers or, whatever else.
Well,
So I started to do these workshops actually a little bit after high school. So maybe I want to say this was 2018-ish, 2019-ish, little workshops with Puma. I did one with New Balance. I interned with them for 3 weeks with this place called Pencil Academy. That's this sneaker design school.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, that was really super cool. I think that doing those, I kind of found out and like discovered through that I was like, I kind of want to tell my own stories and, make my own designs. I didn't want to necessarily have someone being able to be like, no,
Yeah.
change this, switch that. That's not possible. Flip this, do this. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I didn't like that so much, but it was still a really cool experience. And I definitely met a lot of cool people through that. I discovered NFTs like later after that. The sneaker design stuff, that was like 2020, I think, and late 2020, I started to hear about NFTs. I'm not exactly sure like when the exact moment that I was exposed to it, but it definitely wasn't a foreign concept to me when I started to see like the ape selling or, some of those like super early like NFT things, start to pop off. I was like, oh, I can actually try to do that. Let me go see what I can do. And around the time, Foundation was like that, like super exclusive platform to try to get on. So I
You want
was
to
like,
get anybody have an invite?
oh my gosh. Yeah, no, literally like there's this guy named Jordan Azau, and I met him through one of these sneaker events, and he's an artist as well. But some type of way we both knew that we wanted to get onto Foundation, and pretty much we had told each other like whoever finds their way onto Foundation, we're gonna help the other person get on. So
Nice.
eventually I think that he had bought an invite, and from then on I was like, hey, like mint a piece, let me go like buy your piece so I can get that invite, from you. So
That's awesome.
I ended up buying his Genesis piece, and he gave me the invite for that. And I probably meant it that same night, but that piece sat for months and months and months. I didn't realize that you really needed like a whole community, and you needed like to be on Twitter and active on Twitter and NFT Twitter and all that. I didn't realize I was mostly on Instagram with it, so I was like, why isn't my piece selling? These apes are selling, and like, oh, I'm
This is
like,
so relatable, Terrell. This is a very similar story as me. I love to hear it.
So yeah, eventually I had quit my job a little bit after that. That was March when I had minted, and I ended up quitting my job that I had for a few years at FedEx in May that same year. And pretty much in quitting, I still hadn't sold an NFT or anything. So I feel like some people hear that I quit and they're like, oh, he must have sold an NFT, and then he was like, but no, I still hadn't sold an NFT at that time.
Wow.
I pretty much just knew that I wanted to pursue art, and I wouldn't really forgive myself if I never like took that chance. Cause I had done like commissions and stuff on the side, like while I was still working at FedEx or whatever other jobs I had, but I'd never like said, let me dedicate 24 hours a day to art. So, I was like, let me just try this out. Like, and, if I fail, I fail. I can always go get a job. Like I was doing great at FedEx, I was too good of a worker really, but I was just pretty much like, let me try art. So with that, I started to take my art more serious. I started to promote it more. I started to like actually be involved on Twitter and found Art Twitter. And with that, I met some really cool artists along the way. And pretty much I was put into different group chats, and those group chats put me into, NFT group chats. And eventually I was able to find collectors and other artists doing NFTs. And I was lucky enough to get a bid. And, since then I was just like, this is possible. Okay, let me just like put everything I have into this. So I think it's worked out pretty well, but yeah.
Wow. That's like I got chills when you were talking about how like you had quit your job and you were doing great at that job, but you were also like, you had also been always doing art, and you had never done fully just art. And you just knew, like you felt it, like you just felt it in your bones or something. You're like, I love that you were also willing to like find out, like if it does not work out, like if it fails. Like I just love that you were like open to that. That's super cool. Is that scary too though? Was it a little scary, or you just really felt like you really had a belief?
It was definitely scary in a sense. I think luckily I was a person that's lucky enough that I had money saved up to that point. So I knew that I at least had, a few months or a couple of months or however long that, I could actually try this out. I knew that I wasn't going to like, be homeless if it didn't work out or something, but it definitely was scary. I think the scariest part is just the not knowing. And I think on the flip side of that, the reason why I kind of pursued it so hard or really thought that I could do it was just seeing others be able to do it. And I feel like if I can see others be able to do something and I could kind of like look at what they're doing and kind of study what they're doing, then I can kind of figure it out myself. And then furthermore, if I do get that first bid like I got, then I'm like, oh, this is like something that's like a formulaic, like something that I can actually copy and reproduce and, go harder in this. So like I said, I'm just grateful that it worked out.
That's amazing. So cool. On that note, just like one of the things that I just wanted to point out, because I think that will be very valuable to other creators who might be considering, maybe quitting their day jobs. I thought that was really cool to just note that you had saved up enough that you kind of gave yourself like a little bit of a safe timeline there to go all in. And then it sounds like you really did go full on. Like, can you describe like what that really means? Because like for me, like I know that going all in like that, it was like, especially because I also have a family, I have a family, like I have to be responsible for too. So it's, there's a lot of the stakes are high. So it's like really like no days off, no breaks. Like it's like you really need to be in it to win it, like you said earlier, 24/7. And there's a lot involved in that, like that I don't think a lot of people realize. And I like that you were talking about like you kind of you could study what other people were doing. Maybe you looked up to some people who were doing it already. Did you have anyone who was kind of like also sort of a mentor or anybody who, that you want to mention, or no, nothing like that?
I don't know that I had mentors necessarily. I think some of the first artists that I really saw doing it, that kind of like even introduced me to that world, or just seeing foundation, period. I think Poor Teffy, I'm not sure if people know him, but he's a super talented artist. I think he's one of the best artists that we have in this current day. But him definitely, Sean Williams, Corey Van Loo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure who else, but yeah, those are definitely some that I was like literally like on their foundations, reading their description, seeing how they're setting it up, seeing how they're posting it on Twitter or captioning it or whatever else, seeing where they're posting their links and stuff. I'm a super like, I will like, not to say copy, but I'll see what's working for someone and try to like fit it into what I'm doing. Yeah.
I want to chime in on that because like for me too, like there was a whole period of time where like you talked about that learning process, when you start to really understand the best practices and when you've started to realize like, okay, I cannot put a link in my post. I have to put it in the next, the drop down, and all of the things that work better, like having an image with your tweet will always perform better than just sometimes, right? But not always. Like sometimes you could just have a really good tweet and that pops off, then, and there's just like all these little things that you do need to learn, and like having a pin tweet and what kind of copy you put in your pin tweet. Like, is it going to tell a little bit about you? Is it specifically like relevant to like what your work is focused on, or like how long you've been in the space? Like things that are someone would find interesting and want them to check out what you're doing, right? And like if you have a new artwork, like how are you describing it? Are you just like, here's my work, check it out? Like, no, you're probably going to have a title that's kind of a cool title. You're going to probably have the image, not just a link. You're going to probably have the link below so they can find the thing. You're going to probably maybe have a little tiny bit of a description or something, right? Like a couple hashtags maybe thrown in there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there since, I think that would help a lot of people. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would say just even, coming from where I did it or how I did it, definitely if you have someone that you look up to, that's doing something that you want to do, not to say copy, but see what they're doing and see what that you can kind of translate or kind of fit into whatever that you're doing. So for me, like I said, it was just looking at how people were formatting these things, or like you said, how they're doing them and which steps that they're taking at which times and all that. And yeah, like I said, just see what works for them and see what you can do to kind of fit into that world.
Totally. Like use it as a guide. And that makes complete sense. And we all need like guidance, in the beginning of our journeys. I definitely did. And there were luckily like there was a great community who was very helpful for me. Like they'd remind me like, hey, you didn't attach a link to that, or they'd where's your pinned tweet? Come on,
I definitely
Mama.
been to that.
Yeah. But you just mentioned like if there's anyone you look up to. I want to talk about just real quick when we were at NFT NYC this year, during that week, which was such a cool week. This year it was like super. It felt very like it didn't feel as crazy as the previous year, but in a way like as hectic, and chaotic as the previous year. But it also felt like very art heavy to me.
100%. Yeah.
Also, though, when we were standing outside, I think more than one time, I noticed like people kind of slowly come up to you, like who were shy, and be like, "Hey, I'm a huge like fan. You're a huge inspiration to me, and like wanting to take a selfie with you. What does that feel like? And how do you feel like kind of being like this person that a lot of people look up to now?"
It's cool. I definitely don't try to let it get to my head. I don't feel like I'm like a god or something, or like more an important person than other people or anything. But I think it's cool, and it's cool to be in a position where I didn't necessarily have people, especially when I was in like high school. I think later on I kind of found, certain people. But, when I was like in middle school, high school, I didn't really have someone that like looked like me that was doing what I wanted to do. So I didn't really have, a me necessarily to look up to. So I think it's cool that some people do have me to look up to. Again, I don't feel like that makes me important or anything, but if I can help them, or if I can make people's day better just by like meeting me or anything like that, then I'll take it. But like I said, it's still like, it's hard to get used to. I definitely like will be walking somewhere or in an event or something, and someone will just give me this look, and then like you're like, okay, they know me. But then I think people don't realize that, especially if they're not, because a lot of people aren't doxxed, and then they'll look at you and go, Terrell, do you recognize me by my name? I'm like, I like follow 8,000 people. Like I wish I could had the brain to do that, but
yeah,
it definitely still catches me off guard sometimes, but I think it's cool.
It's super cool. Yeah. And I love how humble you are. It's awesome and refreshing. I think it helps to, I guess, when you also just seem like, I don't know. I just feel like you are hyper aware though of like what you just mentioned, like not having that and recognizing that now you're like that, like not having someone who looked like you doing what you're interested in doing. Really, you didn't have much of that growing up. I also am hyper aware of that, being like mixed ethnicity, growing up. Like I can really relate to that. There was like a wrestler that I used to watch, it was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He was like a half Asian. Who else? Like
Terrell's too young to remember Ricky the Dragon.
For that one. But I'm super into wrestling though. But
you have to Google later. Yeah, that was.
He's an all-timer. He's an all-timer.
I got some homework.
Yeah, he had a cool costume. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
Yeah, but like
the Dragon Steamboat. Gotcha.
Yeah. You'll know when you see it. You're gonna be like, okay, yeah, that's a cool costume. That was in the 90s, and I had like Jubilee from X-Men. She was
that's a good one.
Asian. Who else did I have? I guess Brandon Lee. He was like, there was like super few and far
between. Yeah.
And none of them were artists, so it was just like my random pop culture, like, oh, that person kind of looks like me, and they're on TV. Like, what cartoon?
Definitely.
But yeah, no, I love like hearing this. So, I feel like you're. I was talking about this on my panel at VCon a little bit. How like we're not like. I love that. One of the things I love about Web3 is that I feel like it encourages and nurtures like people not being just pigeonholed into being one thing. Like, I don't feel like you're just an artist. I feel like you're more than that. I feel like you do a lot besides. I mean, I feel like artists kind of have to today in general. Like, we have to do a lot of marketing. We have to write copy. We have to know a lot of behind the scenes tech. And I know for a fact that you have some kind of a cool, like, don't you have some kind of cool smart contract situation sometimes? Like, have you done any fun stuff with your smart contracts code or anything?
I wouldn't say I'm a coder or anything, but
Right.
yeah, I definitely try to play around with, especially like the manifold features, any of those cool ones that I could play around with. Yeah, I definitely try to implement that.
See?
I mean, look, if you ask my family, they're gonna say I'm a coder, but I don't. I've seen real coders. So I don't consider myself a coder.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you. Yeah. Like anyone else, a lot of people are like, oh, you sound like, when I speak, they're like, sounds like you're speaking in an alien language. And I'm just
Literally. Like proof of stake, proof of work. They're like, what are you talking about?
Dynamic NFT, static NFT. Yeah.
ERC 1155, ERC 720.
It's not immutable. Yeah. You gotta stay plugged in enough to know like what some of the technical stuff is. See, then when I talk to you, suddenly like I'm not speaking like very technically, like technical stuff.
The stuff, the doohickeys and all that.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, like, do you have any other things you're involved in? So we talked a lot about your art, and I actually want to dig in a little bit more about like your subject matter. But do you have any other stuff that you just want to throw out there that you do, since I mentioned like being more than just an artist and other things? Do you have any other like projects you're a part of or anything?
I'd consider myself a designer. I don't necessarily know the qualifications to say that, necessarily, but yeah, I'd consider myself a designer, especially coming from a background where, like I had mentioned, I was doing shoe design, but even with like the commission work that I was doing, I was taking on anything that I could get because I just needed the money. So even if someone, tasked me to do something that I didn't know how to do, I would figure out how to do it. So, that was like album artwork, brochures, business cards, wedding flyers, anything, portraits, whatever it was. I would, if I didn't know how to do it, I would figure it out. So I would say designer. And like you said, I'm a coder. I know all this. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say designer, artist and designer mainly.
Cool. So you stay versatile. Okay, just to go back into your like specifically your art, I was like looking through your stuff, and I first just remember discovering you in 2021, and I think like your older stuff, you could feel that nostalgia. I could feel that like influence of like your Saturday morning cartoon. Something about it. I felt like I was seeing a window into like childhood Terrell a little bit. Like, I don't know what it was or the energy of it, something like that. But like some of your newer stuff is, I'm feeling like a very mature direction, and the subject matter, like, can you describe to me, is storytelling super important in your art, and how did this kind of like evolve? How did your art kind of evolve into like the current subject matter? If there is anything to tell about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely huge on storytelling. I think that's kind of my biggest thing. It's just super fun for me to be able to tell stories and, even like vast stories or having, deeper messages, even just with an image. I always thought that was really cool. But like you said, nostalgia was definitely a huge center of like focus for me. I'm a super nostalgia-led person. So even like when you mentioned wrestling, like I'm super into all that like old like Jeff Hardy, Rey Mysterio, Shawn Michaels, like that type of era. Like even just me thinking about it, like I'm like I love that type of stuff. But yeah, I'm a super nostalgia-led person just everywhere in my life, whether that be clothes, music, whatever else, art that I'm into. So I do try to kind of connect that with people as well. So like you said, with a lot of those earlier pieces, it was more so with the Saturday morning cartoon type of feel or the Batman Halloween costume, all that type of stuff. I think now I still try to connect with nostalgia, but for me now it's more so like vintage cars or, this character over here is just like Miami Vice or, it's different type of nostalgia, but it is still nostalgia. I think that the kind of through line through it all was just those first pieces were a part of my Joy and Wonder collection, and I was also doing my Good and Evil collection at the same time. And they kind of, resembled each other in a way. A lot of it was like the portrait of like the kid, but I would say like the Good and Evil was the ones with the devil and the angel on the shoulder.
Right.
And then from then on,
there's like an overlap between the two.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. And then, like I said, from then on, going from Evil in Color, or from Good and Evil to Evil in Color, it's really just trying to take those characters off the shoulders and kind of making their own world or trying to see what they're doing when they're not on shoulder. So, even, with Joy or Good and Evil, they still had my characters, Evan and the angel, and then Damon, the demon or the devil. But with Evil in Color, I kind of just fleshed that out. So Damon is Damon DeVille. And then I gave him a whole like crime family kind of. And then, yeah, with a lot of my pieces, I do still, I'm glad that I kind of set it up in a way where I'm able to do a lot of different types of art while still all making sense in the universe that I've created. So, you have pieces that are like, silly, or pieces that are like super just pretty, but there's also pieces that are kind of more violent or more depressing, or, have like deeper messages and stuff. So yeah, I just really wanted to be able to tell stories with more of a fine art touch to it almost. Yeah.
It's a more sophisticated feel to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So inspired by like the Hiroshi Nagais or Edward Hopper or David Hockneys of the world.
So cool. Oh my God. That's so genius. So genius to take the characters off the shoulders and then give them like backgrounds. And I love the storytelling. I'm obsessed.
Thank you.
So cool. And I also do the same thing. I'll do overlaps between collections, but then also what you just said, I think this is also helpful I know some artists that are having trouble like allowing themselves to break free of like their super branded style,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like in the same way that you kind of created a collection to explore these more serious subject matters where you could kind of not feel like it felt okay to kind of do more something violent or something like darker to throw that in there. It's okay because that is part of this theme of this collection. And I've done the same thing where I've like, it was something about being able to create a collection where that body of work is where I'm letting myself do something where I'm experimenting or exploring certain themes or certain subject matters. It kind of allows me that too. Like I want to be able to, we are artists and we should feel, in my opinion, like you should feel freedom to do these things as an artist. Like it's not the same as being a designer. Yes, being a designer can help you. That is a skill. And and being a designer is like, I mean, I was going to bring up something else, but I'll wait a second. I think like, just like allowing yourself to feel free to explore anything that you want or any medium you want even is really important. And yeah, I just know that was a suggestion I had to somebody who was like trying to figure out like, how can I start? I've always done like this really pretty, colorful, like rainbows and like this theme. But I have this other side to me that I want to explore. I just think it would like freak everyone out who follows me or who collects my work. And I'm like, oh, you just make a collection that's about this other direction, but have something that ties them together. Just a little something that you sprinkle in there, But yeah, you just totally described like a very perfect example of how to do that successfully. So that's awesome. Oh, I wanted to talk about I feel like your background and interest in like style, culture, and everything is also a huge benefit to you. Like would you say like your interests and you're kind of into cool stuff. I can tell. So like you did that Popeye cover and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so sick. Like I was obsessed with that piece. I do not have the I told you I have 2 kids. I can't be like bawling out and buying your pieces. They're like a little over my budget, but that was such a cool piece. Do you want to talk about that and like how just like knowing like your interest in how those things kind of affect you and like your overall, I don't want to say brand because you as an artist, but I think it is helpful.
Yeah, 100%. I kind of talk about this all the time in little snippets really, but I think that I always say something like talent is plenty, but taste is like kind of rare or a few. I think that there's a ton of talented people, but I don't necessarily know that everyone knows exactly what's the coolest thing to make or what's gonna, connect to you with like the Popeye thing, or, you know, certain shoes and stuff that I put into pieces. People are like, whoa, like I remember having these shoes, or like I had the DeLorean in my piece Solitaire, and like
the DeLorean piece. I love that piece.
See, and I'm a super big fan of the DeLorean as well, or, you know, all these other shoes and stuff that I put into the art. And a lot of times it is kind of, I don't even want to call it an Easter egg, because I feel like it's more out there than an Easter egg. It's not like something that's like hidden necessarily, but I think that there's an audience that is introduced to these things through my pieces, but there's also people like you that kind of know exactly what that cover means, or exactly what I was going for with these other things. So I think culture is so important in art. I always try to put, you know, whatever that because I like you said, I feel like I know what's at least cool to me. I'm not going to say that it's cool to everyone, but I like to think that I know what's cool. So anytime that I can kind of sneak those things in, or, you know, put a Jordan 4 on these people's feet, or, you know, sneak a, you know, 89 Charger into this piece, or, you know, all these like little things here and there, I just try to like, you know, boop.
Yes.
And like you said, like certain people will be like, oh, what's this? Or, oh, this is cool. You know, what inspired this? And I'm like, you know, Popeyes, like, this is like streetwear legendary, just like, you know, but like you said, with people like you, I know that it's going to tick that part of your brain. Like, oh, like he did it. He did the thing. So, it's super cool just having you talk to me at that point, and you were like, like I love the Popeye thing. I'm like, yes, someone got it.
Yeah, I was so hyped when it just showed up on my feed. It just like, and then it was also so cool. Wow. Well, Michael's here too. I wanted to ask Michael.
Yes.
I'm gonna chill out. I've been geeking out this whole time, so
no, it's all good. I do have a few questions. First off, it's been awesome sitting back and watching this. This is what I love about Ghost Coffee Podcast. An artist interviewing another artist. You know, we've had so many artists on. I love we ask all the questions, but hearing you guys go back and forth is really special. It's really, really cool. And I think it's actually kind of unique. I keep trying to think what other actual artists are interviewing other artists in the space, and I'm not sure if it's happening other than right here. So
there is another podcast that I like. It's Matt Gondek's podcast.
Oh, sure, okay.
Called Clean Break, and his is it's a very good podcast. I would say that he's had a few Web3 guests. I don't think that, you know, I'm really trying to like mix it up too, but I am also like kind of focused on fidget. And I hate that word. No one likes the fidgetal word, but I am. No one likes it. But
you just said a curse word.
I know. It's like no one likes that word, but I say it because I am somebody who's been trying to bridge that gap. That is like my thing. So anyway,
anyway, it's just all good. But Terrell, I've actually been going through all your stuff this most of this time. Your IG is sick. Like anybody should go to Terrell's IG and just scroll through. It's art and like pictures of you, but like really cool stuff. I love seeing those early ones where it's like your NFT sold and you posted that like screenshot of that. It's pretty cool. But so I want to go back to early on. It's always really interesting to me how artists, so you kind of came in and it was you and your friend, but you didn't really know like the influencers and all the people. And you just started joining those communities, but you have like, so was there a collector or a moment? I see that like Vincent Van Gogh and Farouk have collected you. Was there like a certain point where somebody collected you and all of a sudden it was like everybody took notice and all this, like, how did that play out for you?
I think it kind of came in waves, and definitely with like who you just mentioned, Vincent Van Gogh. He was definitely a big one that, like, I feel like there's certain like tastemakers almost in this space.
Exactly.
I definitely feel like he's one of them where, you know, if he collects a piece, then suddenly people are like, oh, like this artist is important and I need to collect them too. Like it's definitely that. But I was super grateful for him. I don't even necessarily know, you know, the moment that he found me, but I'm thankful that he did. He's been super cool. Even just like, we'll talk a lot just in the background, just about like giving me advice on different things or just talking through certain things. And he's just always been super supportive for me, like before all of this. So, yeah, super grateful for him. But yeah, I would definitely say that he's one that like definitely made other people take notice. Let me see who else. Definitely just some other just like artists and other like collectors and stuff like following me or retweeting my tweets or taking notice or a certain big collector buys a piece. That'll definitely just like attract certain communities or I collab with certain communities and that'll kind of introduce me to certain people. But yeah, I think that the biggest like thing that kind of put a lot of people onto me, or definitely what a lot of people kind of talk to me about when they talk to me or tell me where they know me from, is my Born to Die open edition that I did last year. I want to say that was November last year. That's definitely one that like kind of, I would almost say, I don't like to say this, but like blew me up in a sense. That's one that kind of almost formed its own community in a sense of just people that were like owning that piece or
How many picked up that open edition?
That one sold 1,139
in 2022.
pieces. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, that was crazy. Mm-hmm. I still don't necessarily know how that happened, but I was like, I'll take it.
That's wild. And what platform did you release that on?
That was on Manifold. That was pretty much to kind of bring in their burn feature. I had been hearing about the burn feature for months and months before that. Thankfully, I know some people on the inside, so they were kind of like, not to say warning me, but they were like, hey, like we're going to have a burn feature at some point. Like, so just keep that in mind. So even just like from the moment I heard that, I kind of had the piece in mind. I was like, oh, like burn sacrificial lamb. And I was like, I'm going to have one of my characters holding a sacrificial lamb and you're going to have to burn it and you're going to get another piece. And I was like, boom. But at the time I was busy with a lot of other stuff. So it was definitely like always on the back burner, like perpetually. But I just always had it in my mind, like, hey, like, whenever I get some free time, I need to start to work on that like burn piece. And then, another one of those people that came up to me, they were like, hey, like that burn feature's coming out like within the next week. So I was like, okay, like, let me just drop everything else I'm doing. Let me go get to that actually. So the sacrificial lamb, I was like, I don't want people to call PETA on me because I'm making them burn this lamb. So I was like, hey, let me make it a robot. And then I was like, actually, let me make it $1. Like, let me make it an origami dollar lamb that people are going to burn since they're technically like burning money. So I was like, oh, okay, that all kind of makes sense. And then I had like my character, initially I was going to have my character Damon holding it. But when I started to think it through, I was like, it kind of makes more sense for my character Skeliet. He's like a skeleton devil to be holding it. So I was like, let me make it him holding it. And yeah, I'm really happy with how it came out. I'm glad that other people were happy with it as well.
That's such a clever concept.
Thank you.
It is. It really can't be understated. Oh, I'm sorry, Mumbot.
I just wanted to say like that you have to be smart and innovative, creative, and clever. You have to be able to come up with that. That's really cool. And that was that was pretty early in like you said, you were one of the early Manifold burn feature artists. Go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just actually going to say, and it's for both you guys to talk about, it really can't be understated what Manifold has meant for artists.
100%.
I mean, yes. I said to somebody like, and this might be a little crazy, but like, it's almost like what it's done for Web3 artists is what like having art supply stores did for artists, 50, 75 years ago. Like, it's really, and they do it for free. They give it to the artist for free. You can use the tools for free. Like it's incredible. And just a little bit of a little alpha alert. We're having Richard on the podcast later this month. Yeah, very
awesome.
excited.
No, Richard's awesome.
That's a grail guest. Yeah, I'm real excited for that.
100%. Yeah, no, yeah. I've been lucky enough to run into him a couple of times at some of these events, and yeah, he's always super awesome.
I've never gotten to meet Richard. I'd love to meet Richard. I know he was also a speaker at VCon as well.
He was.
I didn't get to run into him. But I chat with White Lights. I am White Lights sometimes.
Oh yeah, White Lights is awesome as well. I love the whole team. I love I know like 6 of them, like but I don't even know that they all like, I don't know that if they know that they all know me, like, cause like I'll hit certain ones for like certain features or ask certain questions and stuff. But yeah, they're all like super awesome.
I think I've got like 2 that I'm able to kind of DM if I really need to. But so far I've actually been able to figure some stuff out on my own. But like it would be like after I've already sent somebody a DM like, hey, how do I do this thing?
I've been there.
Then, yeah, you've been there, right? Just shout out Manifold, man. There's like
incredible. They've come out with even new features. There's one that I haven't seen in action too much where like, so if you're an artist and you want to put out a collection, you can say somebody can burn something, not necessarily even from your collection, from any collection.
Yep.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm waiting for like a giant artist to come out, like a Real World, like whoever, I don't even know who to say, would come and say, hey, I'm dropping on Manifold. The only way to get it is to burn a CryptoPunk.
Oh my goodness.
And like, you know what I mean? So like somebody whose work is worth that much, like
X-Copy?
Cause, X-Copy. Like here's 101. If you want it, burn a CryptoPunk.
I like
Cause would be awesome. Shout out to Cause.
Oh, right? Cause would be awesome.
And just come on there, do something crazy, like what would or burn a Bored Ape, like and just put those contracts in the thing and see who does it first.
It's also controversial. I don't know if you know that mechanism is controversial.
I know it is. I know it is. Yeah,
I know it is. Because like, there's the ones where you can kind of like be like, you know, let's take an NFT catcher NFT and like you can burn any of his like NFTs.
Right. You can burn any of his against. I know. It's
like so F me, huh? Like why do you hate me?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's definitely controversial.
It's definitely controversial. I was excited when I first heard about it, and then I definitely had some pretty interesting discussions, and there were some good points made by different people for different reasons, and not everybody loves it. To be fair, you know,
burning is weird too because it's not really destroying the art; it's just sending it to a wallet that nobody has access to.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, you know,
just
what are the?
Oh, go ahead.
What? Just real quick, and then you guys can go on. But what do the artists say? I'd like to know because to me, like I'm like whatever, let's have fun, burn a bunch of CryptoPunk, you know. But what is it that people say that is the real controversy?
Right. So it's kind of like the fear. I don't want to say fear because it's not like someone's afraid. They're just pointing out like facts. If there's like someone who decides to just have someone burn your art and it's a one of one or something, that could really be, you could start like an art beef, you know, and you could, it'd be like this, hey, this is a thing that like I really wanted to stay in play, you know, like this is a one of one that like I meant a lot to me, and like if someone went ahead and threw that into the burn wallet to get this other thing, like what does that say about that piece that was special? You know, it is kind of weird. So
I hear that 100%. Like I was picturing it with like collections and things like that, but looking at it from an artist perspective, I definitely hear that.
Just even having that thought of like, oh, this person burned my piece to get a piece from her, like it wouldn't feel good. I don't necessarily know exactly how it feels, but I don't think it would feel good.
It depends. I think there's going to be nuances to it, but I think if you didn't know, you weren't made aware, and you didn't approve it, it would definitely maybe hurt a little and be weird. So I could understand that, and that's basically that's the feedback I got from some artists who, you know, had some one of ones, and they were like, oh, I hope that doesn't happen to me. You know, they were like, I would really hope that doesn't happen to me. Is there anything maybe that you have coming up or that you want to talk about that's in the works? Any alpha?
I got a few things. I'm working with a big artist, a musical artist that's in this space as well, but on something that's going to be announced, I want to say next week. So I won't say it because I'm not sure exactly what. I don't want to front run the announcement or anything, but I'm super excited for that. It's going to be super cool. It's going to be a mix of like a Web3, Web2 type of thing with music and like, I won't say too much else, but that'll be really cool. Beyond that, just for like me and what I'm working on, I'm definitely having the third burn for Burn to Die coming up soon. But before that, I'm going to give like away like a lot of NFTs. There's going to be this piece that I'm going to give away, and pretty much people are going to be able to burn that piece probably like a a 2-for-1 or maybe like a 3-for-1. We'll see. I'm not decided yet, but they're gonna be able to burn that for like a badge. I've had these badges, and I'm gonna do stuff with those later on. But it's gonna be like an entry to be able to get these badges for free. I'm not gonna be like selling them. Pretty much, people are gonna have to burn. They're gonna get these pieces to burn just from owning any of the Born to Die pieces or like the burn pieces or anything. So that's gonna be super fun. I already have it finished. I think I want to finish the burn 3 first because I want to be able to announce like the date of that as well as being able to do all this other fun Bernie stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much what's next on my plate. I have some other stuff coming up, but I don't ever know what I can like announce or hint at or anything.
You're fine. Let it go.
You can just tell us everything. let us be your outlet. No, super cool. I'm excited about the music thing. I wonder what that's gonna be.
I'll maybe tell you after the interview.
Okay, cool. Also, how do people find out about the giveaways? Just pay attention to your Twitter or?
Yeah, I would say pay attention to my Twitter. I have a Discord, but it's not necessarily open to everyone. Yeah, I think it's only open to holders for now. But definitely just stay like tuned into my Twitter. I'll try to yell it from the mountaintops when something is happening. But Twitter.
Turn those noties on.
Yeah.
Turn those noties on.
I don't ever
right
tell
now.
people to do that because I'm always like only half my tweets matter, probably less than that even. A lot of stuff I'm just talking about food or music or just stuff that doesn't matter. I don't want people to be like, Terrell's gonna he's just talking about plantains again. Yeah. I don't think enough of what I say matters for them to. So yeah, please don't turn on my notifications. Okay. Anytime anyone says like they have my notifications on, I'm like, I'm sorry. Let me just say sorry for now. Let me say sorry for the past and for the future for whatever else I'm about to tweet.
Awesome. Super cool. Okay. Well, let's see. I want to ask you some random questions now, if that's
Please
okay.
do.
Okay. What is your favorite song?
That's a hard one. Coming from a big music guy, that's like a song of the moment, really. I would say right now, this has probably been my favorite song for a while, but I'll just use this one because I don't have anything better. But Jane Remover, Kodak Moment.
Oh.
Yeah, it's definitely an acquired taste. I definitely don't suggest it to everyone, but it's definitely like super like beautiful and unique to me.
Ooh, I'm excited to check that out. All right, what's your favorite food?
Pizza, but I'm a huge fan of chicken. I'm a huge fan of cereal.
Okay.
But I would say overall pizza. You can't go wrong with pizza.
You're from Michigan. Is it Detroit style pizza? Or
Yeah,
New York
Detroit style pizza.
Detroit, it's better than New York. Detroit's better than New York.
It depends on what you're trying to go for in the moment. Because I would say like New York is a lot more like they're usually thin and stuff, and I would say Detroit style deep dish is like that's like the thickest pizza you can get. So it just depends on how much bread you want to eat that day.
I hear that.
Very diplomatic answer.
I love some Detroit pizza. Yeah, I was in Detroit.
I don't want to start any wars.
Nah. I was in Detroit last September and enjoyed a nice amount of Detroit pizza.
All right.
Oh yeah, no, that's great.
Go ahead, Mom. I'm cutting you.
Okay, if you were in a survival situation, and you had to go on an island, and you could only bring, I'll say like 5 things. You can only bring 5 things with you. What are your 5 items?
You want to know what's funny? I watch shows like Naked and Afraid and Alone. Yes. I love Alone, Survivor, all that type of stuff. So I know the best answers, but I would say like flint. You're gonna need a good some of them use like machete, some of them use like axes, some blade. I'm gonna need some good blade. Definitely cordage. You're gonna need some cordage. You said an island, so I want to say a fishing net.
Okay, smart.
And actually, no. I'm taking back the fishing net because I have cordage. I can make a fishing net out of the cordage. Boom. You see, I got 2 more. I would say a tarp for shelter. And
it's an important one. I hope you're going to say it.
Hold on. Now there's pressure. Hold on. I'm not gonna say what you want me to say. I'm gonna say a spice rack. I'm
Oh.
a super big food fan, so I'm gonna need the food to taste good. I can't just eat anything. But what were you gonna say?
Got something to boil the water with.
Oh no, I'm gonna die. Oh no, it's only raw fish for me. Oh no.
Food will taste good. But
Yeah, no, a pot. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay, take away the spice rack. Give me a pot, I guess.
oh, you're so bland. But you'll survive.
Yeah,
Awesome. This was such a pleasure to have you on.
it's a
Seriously,
pleasure to be here.
like, yeah, thank you so much. I don't know. Do you guys want to do you have any other things that you want to join in? Oh, what do you think about what is that thing called? The new smart contracts that are coming out. You know, the ones that hold NFTs, ERC. It's almost like a wallet. It's called an ERC 6551. You know about this?
I have no idea.
Check that out.
Now you're the one speaking pig Latin to me.
I
don't-
know. I know.
But yeah, no, I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
haven't been glued
cool.
in as much as I need to. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. You said what's the numbers?
ERC 6551, and it's
Okay.
based on that other thing that you probably heard about that was being announced a little bit. Was it begins with a 4, like from like 2 months ago, like February. They were like people were like talking about this new thing that was gonna change the need for a wallet, basically. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to research. Yeah, I got a lot of homework after this.
all right, cool. Anyway, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So everyone, Terrell. You can find Terrell Jones on Twitter and on Instagram at Terrell Dom. We will provide links to Terrell's socials and to some of his collections in the description of this podcast. Thank you so much to Andy at the NFT Catcher podcast for powering this episode. Shout out Michael Keane, Jennifer Suto, MUMBOT World, and Ghost Club. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFT Catcher podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new about the exciting world of NFTs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really love what you're hearing, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite platform. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news and insights from the NFT space, be sure to follow us on all the socials at NFT Catcher Pod. You can follow Jennifer at Jennifer_Sudo and Michael at NFTicket. I'm your producer, Andy, and I'm at AJC254. Our theme song's by It's Just Los. We always appreciate your feedback and support, which helps us reach more people and bring you informative and engaging content about NFTs. We look forward to bringing you more great NFT content in future episodes. Thanks for listening. Peace.